Welcome to the FPL USA Press Play Podcast. I'm super thankful to have all three hosts fit and ready to jam on this episode. I'm Bucks. I'm joined by Brian and Dan, better known as Black Wolf. Guys, happy Thanksgiving holiday. How the hell are you?
I think this is the first pod that the three of us have been on in over a month because people have been in and out of the lineups. I was out of the country. Some sniffles hit the Bucksbaum household, so feels good. We got three pretty positive FPL weekends as well.
Yeah, it's actually almost 2 months since the three of us have been
Hot
on
damn.
together. Yeah, so this is cool. I'm still recovering from my coma from Thanksgiving. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, tell us about it. You were the big hostess with the mostest, so how'd it go?
Yeah, I hosted it for the very first time. It went very, very well. You know, we don't have Thanksgiving in the UK, so it's a
No, you
nice
don't.
change for me. So yeah, it's like a second Christmas. I love it.
It's my favorite day of the year, and I actually got to do two of them. I had Thanksgiving at my in-laws, which was delicious, and then I had Friendsgiving last night, which was also I was like had two Greek grandmas cooking for me both nights. It was stuff of dreams. But speaking of dreams,
Did you have
Black
Greek
Wolf,
food?
no, it's like the Greeks, they do like multiple meats. That's how you know that you're a guest of honor. So, my
Delicious.
in-laws, they had three meats at this Friendsgiving I went to. The Yaya went crazy. She made five meats for the
Wow.
guests. It was the love was felt in everyone's belly at the end of the night for sure.
And we're just kicking off the festive fixture season. Like, that's what's got me so amped up. We have FPL and just like watching NFL all day on Thursday with friends, having some drinks. Then the next day, game week kicks off. Then we have a whole slate of action. And now we have midweek fixtures right around the corner. Oh, it's all happening fast and furious. Before you know it, it'll be Boxing Day, and we'll have just crazy amounts of variance and hopefully green arrows to hit all of us. So let's start it there. Dan, top of the table between the three of us this week. Massive scoreline. Run the listeners through how you did in game week 13.
Yeah, I got 88 points this week, which is a
Woo!
ridiculously high score considering I
Whoop,
don't
whoop.
own Saka. So I thought my game week was going to suck after the Saka haul, but then I had Gabriel, I had Alexander Arnold, Diego Dallo, Salah captain, Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, Wisa. They all returned for me, so I ended up on 88 points, and I'm finally into the
Crushed
top
it.
1 million. I'm now 860,000 in the world. Considering I was 3.5 million just like 3-4 weeks ago, that's a nice change for me.
Yeah, take that victory lap, Dan, in a big way. Might even be a naked victory lap, knowing some of your prejudices. But I do
Absolutely.
want to just give you some compliments here because 3 out of 3 from the defender returns. You're not seeing that very often in the FPL community. So good on you to really get some points at the back. And despite not having Saka, who was on a quadruple return in just the first half for Arsenal, still securing a really nice big score and a big green arrow. So bravo to you.
Yeah, and Alexander Arnold has turned out to be a really nice differential because most people sold him and now he's back in and he actually looked amazing today. He could have scored a couple of goals, got a couple of assists. So I'm happy to keep hold of him going forward, I think.
He looked a little rusty to me in a few spots. He was pinging a lot of balls long that normally you don't expect, but the shots, holy crap! I was
Yes.
thinking he was going to have a 18 pointer against City because he had a couple fucking rips, just power legging through a couple of those shots that I think Mo set him up for one that I was like, I mean, if he scores, he scores, but I want those Mo captaincy points. So he was very active. So it's a good differential. Somebody who I'm actively looking at and hopefully can maybe bring into my team in the next couple of weeks.
All right, let's put the greedy Grinch to the side as he wants even more points up there than Brian Chin. I'm going to go now because I'm one of those fools who did sell Trent. I moved him to Lewis Hall. That has not been a great move for me, but I took a Bucks Wild -8 this game week. I took my own advice for once going into last week's pod, And I brought in both Salah and Saka in one move. I also had João Pedro join the trio. First time in the last 2 seasons since Holland joined the Premier League that I will not have him in my team. So this is a big monumental moment for my FPL career. And I get a green arrow. So I stop the streak of falling down the rank and flat on my face. And I end up on 76 points all out. So I was on 84 -8, 76. On to the next game week. Feels good.
I would like to say, I think the bigger swings that each of the hosts have taken over the last couple game weeks, starting with Dan and his -8, which has really helped propel him out of the depths of the overall ranks and up the leaderboards. And same thing for Bucks. He takes a -8 this week, gets a very respectable 76-point score, and we're cruising. And then if for me, I was preaching all first 12 game weeks, avoid hits if at all possible. I've taken 2 back-to-back hits, and I'm feeling much more confident about my team. And so I think there's a time and a place if that really makes sense. And Bucks and I both hit in Saka this week for Bruno. Still, Bruno looks like he could be still a good asset down the line, but they have some dicey fixtures coming up. And to get on the other side of this 18-point haul from Saka was what dreams are made of when you bring in a transfer. So recapping my quick game week score, I end on 74 points after a -4, small 15K red arrow, and I am at 107K OR. So very much in the thick of it. And to be honest, after I started the game week with both João Pedro and What the Van Hecka in my team on Friday, and they both blank, I'm like, oh, I'm due for a big, big red arrow. And then that spiral went even further because I get to watch the huge matches with Saka putting up an 18-pointer, seeing lots of his captaincies all across the board. Then this morning, bright and early, 5:30 a.m., I'm waking up to watch Chelsea. They cruise to a 3-0 victory and look very commanding versus Villa. But Cole Palmer gets a beautiful curler at the end of that one. He's on a double-digit haul, and some people have captained him. So going into the final match with Salah versus City, he's just the fucking Egyptian king. He comes through with the goods, gets me the bag, and we're feeling good. So I end up on a pretty reasonable score, all things considered, after a hit, and in good position to keep pushing forward into hopefully a top 10K season.
Yeah, Brian, you are setting a strong pace of the trio of hosts right now, basically at 100K overall, despite taking a couple hits now. So you're really smashing it to start the season. Now, speaking of teams that are absolutely smashing it, let's talk about the manager of the game week in our free-to-enter Press Play Pod Premiership. Now, this is a competition that will get you a weekly shout out for the top scorer, and the overall winner is looking to get a free kit from this season, courtesy of the hosts when all is said and done. Now, we want to shout out Team Fancy Footwork, aka Ashkat Nazarov, 104 points. Golly jeepers. Saka captain, Palmer, Salah, Evan Nielsen, Bruno, Trent, and Nico Jackson all returning. And honestly, we are going to talk about how Saka's haul could have been even bigger. But we got to give credit to Ashkat because he had Bob the Monster Sanchez with his clean sheet 7-pointer on the bench, as well as Brennan Johnson's 10-pointer in the first bench. So this really could have been like an 120-point explosion. Shout out to him.
Well done. Well done. And then a few other shouts to some friends of the show. FPL Theorist, who is part of the hashtag FPL USA community. He registered the 100 spot. Well done to him. And then one of my best buddies and groomsmen, Joshua Moffat, comes in with 100 as well. So well done to those cracking the triple-digit barrier, because when you look at some of the safety scores, probably around 70 or so, you're looking at massive, massive green arrows if you hit triple digits. So well done. So speaking of massive hauls and massive increases in overall rank, let's just jump into a few notes from the weekend. And we have to give our kudos to Mr. Arne Slot. This man has had a hell of a week. First, they just crush the living hell out of Real Madrid midweek in UCL, and then they deliver and take down the lowly, lowly Citizens who might get booted out of the UK at some point. What did you guys see in this one? What can we take away from the dismantling of City? And I think more so, who are the other assets on Liverpool that we should be considering for our watch list? I think that's more important versus talking more and more about City's downfall.
Yeah, I mean, he's really turned them into a well-oiled slot machine. He really has. Losing Klopp was a bit of a downer for a lot of Liverpool fans, I know, but Slot has really got them playing like structurally. He's got them passing it around. It's the midfield that he's really changed. If you look at the likes of Gravenberch and McAllister and Soboslai, they all look like brand new signings. They just really dominated that midfield today. They dominated the midfield for Real Madrid. So that part of the field in particular, he's really upgraded them, I feel. And then, of course, Salah is just a man possessed this season. It's the hair transplant. I'm telling you, I'm thinking of getting one myself.
Those are some good plugs. Those are some good plugs.
Yeah, really good plugs. But yeah, they haven't really made
right now.
Exactly, they haven't really made many signings, and yet they look like a totally different squad. So I'm really impressed by them, and it looks like they're going to go on to win it, or at least challenge Arsenal to win it. I said at the start of the season that I think Man City will win this league easy, but it looks like I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah, in a big way, I think. And credit to Liverpool, they're top of the Champions League. They beat the champions of Europe in Real Madrid. They beat the title holders in Manchester City, both with clean sheet performances. So I think, obviously everyone's going to talk about the king, Mo Salah. He's back on the throne. He gets a 13-pointer in this match.
I think he's up to mother bleeping pen merchant, though. Oh my goodness. How many pens is this guy going to get this season? Like, obviously I have benefited in a huge way from captaining him many of the last 6 game weeks, but good Lord. I mean, he's got 4 pens probably this season already. So that's and something
he missed that crazy open goal. I was furious when that happened. I bet you were.
Yeah,
too.
he's making the pens, but he's missing the open field chances in a big way. Now, I got to answer your question, Brian, because I think the defense is where we need to look at for even a potential double up, because Kelleher has been incredible. I think he's been one of the stars of this Liverpool stretch when the last 10 games was pretty brutal when you looked at it from a schedule point of view, and they have 9 wins and 1 draw in those matches. And Kelleher has a couple of humongous saves, some penalty saves. He's been brilliant. And then you look Trent and Verge, Trent isn't really getting the attacking returns yet, and Verge has, but you can tell it's coming. I think we're going to be seeing a 15, maybe even an 18-point explosion from Alexander-Arnold over this festive fixture run. And he's going to really gift some managers on the nice list with a double-digit return.
Yeah, Verge definitely stood over all of the small defenders that City had. He had, 3 or 4 headers, one off the post. He looked like he was going to come in for the big 15-pointer for managers. But yeah, Trent is somebody that I'm glad people kept selling him. He's down to 6.9. I love that, especially when I'm thinking about my Boomo money. And if I want to kind of flip-flop that and reinvest in Trent and maybe take some money out of my midfield. So yeah, I think the defense between Arsenal's underlying and having maybe 3 defenders total between Arsenal and Liverpool, that's like easy peasy. And then you just rotate one other cheap 4-5 guy in, and you're fucking set to go.
I agree. And I definitely
easy game, easy game, right? That's just how you do it, easy.
What about?
I definitely
do want to ask you and Dan, because you've been on this corner well before I joined the party. Are we just in a mode where we should be seriously considering Salah as perma captain?
Nah, definitely not. I mean, when you've got Cole Palmer playing the likes of Southampton, I think you have to go there. You have to play the fixture, I think. Even though Salah's constantly returning, he is getting kind of lucky. He's
getting a double-digit haul every game week, it feels like. And I know Cole Palmer got some early rotation. He also gets 14 points. Really, the trio of midfielders just bossed it this game week. I mean, you had a 18-pointer from Saka, 14 from Cole, 13 from Salah. I felt like I did God's work. Dan, jump in.
Yeah, I have a really interesting stat, actually. I saw that since game week 6, The top 3 point scorers are Salah on 82 points, Saka on 63 points, and Cole Palmer on 61 points. Then you have to go all the way down to 98th for Haaland, who is only on 23 points. That's 1 less point than Mikalenko, who got a -1 this weekend, and 2 less points than Joe Linton. So that's how bad Haaland has been. That's why everyone who went from Haaland to Salah has been flying up the ranks, because Salah has got almost 60 points more than him. It's insane.
Well, I want to just say, and I felt that in my plums and in my rank last couple game weeks.
Nice reference in the plums.
But I gotta say,
if you factor in captaincy, that's over 100 points difference.
The variance has been crazy cruel for many managers, including myself. But I want to just say, I felt like I put something special together. I captained Cole Palmer. He gets the double return, 14 points, 3 bonus. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to really gloat on the podcast. Finally got something going my way. Salah comes on. He basically just matched him without really even breaking a sweat, and really should have had even more. So credit to anyone who went Saka. I think those are the real winners this game week. That was a bold differential captaincy call. And yeah, anyone who still has Haaland is just kicking themselves, because Man City look like completely broken. They're a shattered team right now. You know that they're down bad because Pep is responding to home fans at Anfield, trying to convince them that he deserves a spot in the Premier League. I'm like, bro, you won 6 Premier League titles. You don't need to convince anybody. You're being trolled right now.
Yeah, I think the big thing with Haaland, especially in these marquee matchups, there's just not enough threat from the rest of the City team. So you can just double mark him on every run that he takes. And I saw that multiple times today. There wasn't a ton of space for him to run into to begin with, but that's what any top 8 defense should do the rest of the season, because the wingers right now, without Grealish being fit, without the likes of KDB, there's just not enough threat. And we've seen that Foden is off the fucking boil. So he's not getting the service, and he needs service. That's just how a lot of these top strikers are. So the fact that they're just passing the ball, a lot of triangles between their back 3 and some of these other guys, it's just not working. So, all right, let's keep it moving here. I want to talk about Arsenal, because we saw this fixture swing coming up around game week 12. I know I'm on the triple up already. What did you see, Dan? Because this was an absolute just crazy first half. 7 goals in the first half. Is that right? Or 6 goals? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was insane. And not owning Saka for this game and seeing him get all of those assists when I didn't own him was just awful. But yeah, they look like
and then he gifts the pen to Odegaard to get his first Premier League goal this season from the penalty spot, and you're like, oh, I dodged that one, and then he gets another one later. It's just crazy. Even he could have been on 23 plus points too, right?
Easy. But yeah, we called it on the pod a few weeks ago. Having Odegaard back is changed the game for Arsenal. They look like such a better team with him in the team. So, they're the team to target going forward. I think you have to have 3 of their assets. I think having Gabriel, who just looks like a monster every single time they get a corner, he's going to get you consistent points. And I think their clean sheets are going to return at some point. Saka is by far their best asset. I think everyone should look to trying to earn him at some point soon. I know I'm going to look to get him in the next couple of weeks.
I think the main difference as well is just when you see Arsenal hanging 3+ goals away from the Emirates, then it's time to get the triple up, because we expect good performances from them in front of their home crowd, and they're consistently putting in 2 or 3 goals. But as soon as they start putting up a few of these performances, I mean, they played in the Champions League and played at Sporting, I believe, and just absolutely demolished them 4-1. And so you think that there are a lot more goals coming as long as Odegaard is healthy in that center of their attack.
So I want to pose the question, what's the optimal triple up for Arsenal? Let's just dive into that now. We know Saka's on the board, and probably Gabriel is in the silver medal spot. Who's your favorite third option?
I mean, if you're taking team structure out of the equation, I really like Odegaard for that third spot, just because he's a 90-minute man. He looks like he's going to get a share of the penalties. He's their biggest chance creator other than Saka. So I really like Odegaard.
Should be good on bonus as well. I think that's something that's definitely in his locker too.
Exactly. The only thing against Odegaard is his price alongside Saka. You're putting what, 18 million into 2 midfield spots for Arsenal when there's so many other good options. So for that reason, I think I would pick either David Raya in goal or maybe Kai Havertz up front. Although, all of the strikers are really performing right now, so I don't know if I'd want to take up a spot on Havertz. So for me, it's David Raya.
Or it's who you have in your team currently, right? Like I wouldn't be
exactly.
moving any extra transfers to take out Raya and bring in Odegaard. Like it's just not worth it. You could just get Bruno Fernandes at about the same price as Odegaard instead. So I think that's the big competition in a lot of managers' teams when they're looking to maybe really beef up that midfield and bringing in somebody like Bruno instead of Odegaard, where they're going to have similar price points. So want to call that out as well.
That's a perfect professional podcaster transition right there, because I was yelling lots of Bruno when I saw that Manchester United first half, and Amarin finally getting to feel the love at Old Trafford. They absolutely smashed Everton 4-0. Bruno had a brace of assists. He's on 9 points. Xerxes gets a brace and 3 bonus with 13. Rashford a brace, 14 points. And I really want to call out Amad Diallo, because I think he was the player for me that jumped off the screen. He was playing right wing back, definitely not his preferred position. 4.9 million. He had 2 assists. He was everywhere. And I thought he had a huge impact on the game. 11 points. He could be a great way to free up funds if you're looking to splurge and get someone like Trent back into your team. Is he on the watch list for either of you guys?
Funny that you mentioned that, Bucks. I know I will be shopping for a bargain bin type of player and moving Mbomo to Ahmad as my 5th kind of midfielder and 8th attacker to fill in for a few spot kicks from time to time, and then get Trent into the team is something I'm very much thinking about. It's just such early days, right? Like Rashford is sub 7 million. He could be interesting, especially because he's been featuring in every single one of the lineups so far for Manchester United, and he's been performing. He's got 3 goals so far, maybe an assist. So again, wait and see on a lot of these players. Bruno's the only one that is truly, truly nailed. And obviously Bucks and I had ripped him out for Saka specifically, but he's still going to be a factor, I think, for the rest of the season in a lot of managers' teams.
I think it's a great time to practice patience and just watch Manchester United to build some more knowledge about what's going on there and who's the preferred 11 and in what position, because their next couple fixtures are pretty brutal. They play Arsenal, City, and then Forest. So I feel vindicated in selling Bruno in certain ways because of that upcoming fixture run. But I also just know that I think this team is going to level up under a much better and more solid head coach. And you're already starting to see signs of that in the last couple matches. Dan, closing point here.
I think if you own Bruno right now, there's merit to selling him and there's also merit to keeping him. But if you do not own him right now, I would not bring him in until game week 17 when they have that really nice run of fixtures.
That's why Bucks and I ripped him out because of the fixture run. It's like, Saka's turning here, so we're going to take this one on the chin. But like you said, he's definitely somebody that if you have him and you have other pressing issues, I don't think it's a sell. It's just a firm hold, and you hope for, maybe a 6-pointer in one of those tougher matches or maybe a PK. And given that they have the right combination of players on the field and on the pitch, maybe they will get a few more PKs as well.
I mean, I don't think Man City is a FDR of 5 anymore, so that could be a good game for Bruno Fernandes. Who knows?
That's a fair shout. Now, let's close out this recap section by saying glory, glory, hallelujah, as Dan counts his FPL points. But as he's cursing the heavens for what happened to Wolves as they played against Bournemouth and got absolutely bamboozled on the pitch. Can we get the therapy couch out, guys? You got the movers still on hold?
Man, I'm gonna join Dan on the therapy couch because I have 2 Wolves players in my side. I have Cunha and Aït-Nouri, and over the last couple of game weeks, those 2 players combined have gotten me 18 points in 2 consecutive game weeks combined. So going into this match where I was like, all right, Cunha's in form, maybe Aït-Nouri gets something. Oh, just defensive shambles. So Dan, I'll kick it to you there, but I'm with you. I feel your pain, brother.
Yeah, we played like total shit. I don't like Aitnari as an asset anymore. I put him as number 2. I've been saying this for a long time. I put him as number 2, the best Wolves asset.
Oh, I thought you were calling him shit. Number
Oh yeah.
2.
He's my second
Gotta have the
favorite Wolves
Charmin.
option. However, I have been saying for a long time the only Wolves player I would bring into my team is Mateus Cunha. The rest of our team is just a pile of crap. Strand Larsen is going to get some goals like he did. He got 11 points, but not enough to justify having him in that front line, I don't feel. But Cunha is going to consistently be good. I'd still feel good about owning him for the great run of fixtures we had. But our defense is just dog shit. We played 4 at the back again, or you could argue we played 3 at the back with Ryan Aitnari as like a Gvardiol left centre back role, which just does not work. Gary O'Neill just needs to go, I think. I've been on his side for a long time, but I'm kind of fed up now. His tactics are all wrong.
Yeah, he seems to really put too much variation in the formations that you put out, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Tactically, it was a howler. I mean, I was watching it, and like you just said, Dan, I was kind of like, what are they? What's their formation? What's going on? Who's talking to Sa, their goalie? It looked like they didn't train all week, to be honest.
part of the problem is we have 3 really good central midfielders in João Gomez, Mario Lemina, and Andre. And he keeps trying to fit all 3 of them in together. So he ended up putting Mario Lemina at centre back. Which he's okay there, but when you've got Totti and Dawson and Bueno sitting on the bench, you got to play them. You've got to play Ryan Aitnari left wing back, or even just give him a free roam to do whatever he wants. That's what he's best at. So the guy just does not know his best formation, and he's now 13 games into the season, and I still find it hard to predict who their 11 is going to be.
Fair shout. Now, we should just mention Strand Larsen. He had a real alpha dog moment. 2 goals. He gets the 2 bonus. He's 5.6 million. He's only 1 attacking return behind Cunha, which I think is pretty notable with 11 points in this match. But to lose 4-1 to Bournemouth when they're missing Semenyo, who's probably comfortably their best player, I mean, they just made it way too easy. Evan Nielsen, who's one of the budget forwards that's in focus right now, he had a hat trick of assists by just earning 3 penalties. He did less than nothing, which was shocking. He gets 12 points. And then
I mean, Jose Sa, Johnson's got to come in after that performance, right?
I think he might. I think he might. And after the game, he went into the stands and started shouting at the fans. So yeah, I've got a feeling Sam Johnson's going to start the next game.
Yeah, that was a bad look. And then Kluivert, he was actually the top scorer this game week. I can comfortably say I have not been Kluivert curious.
Shada of Brentford got 23 points because he got 3 goals and an assist. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, all right. I got that one. I bundled that one. But
the Kings of the game week, some random players just popping off with points there.
I haven't seen shade or been Kluivert curious all season. I can have my hand up comfortably on that one.
I had Kluivert in a sleeper in one of our fun draft league, so that was funny to see him just popping off and scoring more points than Cole Palmer and Salah and all these other guys. But all right, let's wrap it up here and move. And let's fast forward to fixtures Tuesday. Oh my goodness, the deadline is fast approaching. Let's talk about some of the matches to target and any players you just want to shout out. Chelsea at Southampton. You expect the Chelsea Blues to continue their winning ways, and they're tied with Arsenal, second in the table right now. So Bucks, I'm thinking this is a 2-0 victory for the Chelsea Blues.
Nah, it's going to be more. 4-0. Nico Jackson stays winning. He's clearly the second best striker in the Premier League right now. Move over Alexander Isak. Bring on Nico Jackson. And he has 8 goals on the season. He's a real top player. He's got the finishing. Now it seems like it's worked itself out. If he could just take a half breath and be caught off sides a little bit less, he's going to really be a top standout player in the years to come.
Yeah,
he looks like a diamond in the rough.
Touch was a little rough in second parts of this match, but overall as an asset, especially with Isak potentially injured, I see a lot of managers like myself thinking about him and Chelsea's fixture run coming up, especially given their overall form and their health. I think Sancho provides another player that will be creative and help pass the ball and get the ball to the right spots that Jackson likes. So you like that. 8 million. You've been on him for a couple game weeks. He's been a steady asset for you, Buck. So strong hold, possibly a buy. But Southampton, we always target Southampton, and they owe me some FPL points after they should have beaten Brighton. So Chelsea better smack them around a little bit.
Yeah, there's no Saints in this host trio by any means, and I
Are we
think
just
the
going to
best
glaze over? Are we just going to glaze over the fact you said Jackson is the second best striker in the Premier League? I can't let go of that comment.
Who's better?
I would not swap him for Mateus Cunha.
That's why your team is in the relegation zone, and my team is comfortably in top 4, baby.
Cunha doesn't have Cole Palmer feeding him the ball. He has fucking Strand Larsen.
I thought that guy Gomez was the the second coming of what's his name, Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that I think Harwood Bells is out in this game for Southampton. They're missing a couple other key pieces through suspension, so it's not going to be a full strength Saints team, and they're already in the gutter of the Premier League right now. So I think Chelsea have every right to smash them in this game.
All right, next up we have Manchester United at Arsenal. So this is another reason why I ripped out Bruno, knowing that he would have to play away at the Emirates, where I could have Saka at home in that matchup. So curious what you guys are thinking here. But I think right now maybe a 3-1 victory to Arsenal.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, 3-1. I think Arsenal will win this one, considering they're at home, and Man United still look a little shaky defensively, even though they kept a clean sheet. And I know they have Mainu and Martinez both out because of suspension.
Yeah, that's the main part. Some of their spine is missing. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, I do see Man United scoring, though. They look a lot better going forward than they were previously since Ten Hag.
I think this should be like a fun match where it's going to be like 2-1, or it's going to be like 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, and then Arsenal put it away in their front of their home crowd.
Yeah, I might have to play Bruno Fernandes for this game, so hopefully he gets a dodgy penalty or something like that.
It's always written in the stars for those United wankers. Let's go to the next match, Liverpool at Newcastle. Now, I think maybe 5 game weeks ago, we would have thought this would be a heavyweight battle, at St. James's Park. But Newcastle, they're bottom half of the table right now. And Liverpool they're cruising. They're motoring along on all cylinders. I think 3-0 to the visitors. I don't think this is a tough match whatsoever.
No Isak likely in this one. You do have Callum the Truth Wilson coming back into the side, but they do not look like they have it all together at this point in time. So you have to favor Liverpool with a little bit of rotation, some fresh guys coming off the pine, and should be ready to attack this fixture. So have to go with Liverpool as well.
Yeah, I go with Liverpool as well. I do see Newcastle scoring though.
Really? I think it's going to be 2-0, but I think it's going to be like today, a very comfortable 2-0, where Newcastle really barely fluffed the feathers of the Liverpool defense.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a room for a little bit of a lapse from Liverpool potentially, and that's why I had kept the goals down a little bit, just knowing that they came off of 2 really emotionally intense matches versus Real Madrid and versus City. Everything that's involved with the preparation and just getting your adrenaline up for those matches, and then going to face a opponent who's not quite as quality at the moment. So we'll see how that plays out. But best matches on paper, Bucks. Ooh, who else do you like here?
Let's start with Dan's team. I think this is a really interesting match, especially bringing the relegation battle into focus. Everton are a really good team at home, and Wolves will travel to play at Goodison Park, one of the last times they'll make that trip. I think Wolves have enough to get it. I think it's 2-1 to the visitors, but I think this is going to be a very exciting watch, despite 2 teams that are, much closer to being in the championship than in the Premier League. I think Wolves just have more attacking oomph than the Evertonians.
Got to get 3 here, Dan, right? Like this is a must 3 bagger.
Yeah, this is a must win. I mean, one thing Wolves are not right now is boring. They're really exciting to watch. I see them scoring every single game. It's just whether we can shut teams out. We have to score more than them. It's that simple.
Next up, I think Spurs at Bournemouth. Bournemouth kind of going under the radar as being a really tough team to play at right now this season. And they've been plucky in most of their matches. Now, Spurs right now have the highest XG in the league. And, I think Solanke is hopefully back. This is a Thursday kickoff, notably. So we will not know dog shit about their starting 11 when the Tuesday deadline rolls around. But I think Spurs, I think this is 2-2, maybe 3-2.
Ooh, interesting.
I think it's a really tight toss-up on who actually pulls it out. I'll give the lean and slight edge to Spurs. I think it's 3-2 to the visitors.
It seems like a good opportunity for Brendan Johnson to continue his scoring ways. I think this, like you said, is going to be filled with at least 4 goals. I will be taking the over with my imaginary shekels being put on the over there.
I feel good about owning Solanke for this game, considering he's returning to Bournemouth. And, he was ill. He travelled, apparently, and then just got left out last minute. So I think he'll start and play, and I think he's going to score against his old team. At least I hope he does, considering...
Does he celebrate, Dan? Does he pull a Kai Havertz?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, classy.
I also think this could be a match where, for instance, if Spurs were to win a penalty, maybe Son might hand it to Solanke. Just give him a little nudge, get his confidence going, playing his old club. We'll see. But now we are going to take a break, and we're going to come back with our FPL community questions, and then get out of here on our transfer plans and captaincy shouts. We'll be right back.
And we're back. Let's dive into that mailbag. I don't know about you guys. I'm still a little full from feasting at Dan's house over the holidays. Dan, can we get some British accent to brighten up the mood going into the questions here?
All right, let's do it. So our first question is from Nihal, FPL Masala. He asks, Isak to Jackson or keep? And then he's asking if the Jackson 5th yellow card situation is being a little bit overplayed. For me, I think it is being overplayed. I think, worst case scenario, he gets his 5th yellow card, and hopefully because you don't own Haaland, you've got a decent bench to cover when that does happen. But we've seen this over and over and over again where people are failing to bring in players on 4 yellows, and then they just keep hauling, and the yellow never comes. So, however, having said that, if you have someone like Semenyo on your bench this week, I would just play him against Tottenham. I would bench Isak, because then Isak is going to come back in next game week probably for all of the fixtures that you actually bought him in for, because no one bought him in for this Liverpool game anyway. That's what my opinion is.
I'm going to add to that. I think that the yellow card situation for any player that you have on your team, it's not the worst for them to miss a game and get a full rest that's forced, right? I'm not like that mad that Semenyo just got a full rest and now he can play the next 5 matches in a row, really, for a Bournemouth team that's not playing midweek. So it's not the end of the world, and most people should have a decent playing defender, or they should have an 8th attacker that they can rotate in. So again, if you're chasing points and don't want to be patient, he's a great pick. I think you can downgrade him in one move. You don't have to make multiple moves. So if it's a place where you think that Chelsea are going to continue to score 3+ goals, then Jackson should be heavily involved. And if he can get his feet right, he's going to have a consistent run with 6 to 13 points, I think, in this kind of next 6 batch of windows.
I'm actually surprised that he didn't purposely get a yellow card in this game so that he could miss the Southampton game, which they're going to win anyway without him. And then he can just come back without the worry of suspension. I'm surprised he didn't do that.
He's destined to play like 55 minutes coming up versus Southampton and then get a rest from Maresca. So we'll see how that plays out.
But he got a rest. So I think, it's all about Jackson betting and backing himself this season. I think he's going to end up coming out of this midweek with 10 goals. So I think he's going to get a brace against Southampton. Maybe he picks up the cheeky yellow card once he scores the second, takes his jersey off a la Mo Salah, and then he's planted to the bench for 1 game. And then he's going to be back in and the starting number 9 for the continued great stretch of fixtures that Chelsea enjoy. So I think he's a brilliant pick. If I had extra luxury transfers to make, I would definitely make that move, Nihal. But if it's just you have 1 or 2 free transfers, probably more optimal to roll.
I do actually have some insight here. I do know that Nihal actually made his move before this pod even started.
Boom.
So he did actually bring in Jackson for Isak. He's done it already.
He wants to get that 0.1. We do it live here. We do it live. Next up,
What
we
a
have
genius. A sick genius you are, Masala. Credit to you.
Yeah, of course you would say that, Bucks. As a Jackson owner, you're excited to get hopeful price rises to come out of that, man. Next up, we have a trio of
Help me
FPL
out,
managers
Lord.
between Bucks at FPL Paz, at FPL Theorist as well. Al asking about Mbomo. What did you put here, Bucks? No Mbo, no?
Mbomo or Mbo? No.
That's right. Who are we replacing this lad with? One mother bleeping shot in 4 matches. I don't understand how you just don't get bored. Like, yeah, you're passing the ball around, creating like not very many chances, just pinned out to the right touchline. Meanwhile, Wissa is making all the moves. So, what are you guys thinking about? And
Before we
also,
drop our
let me just also call out this fixture run coming up for the Brentford team is away Villa, home Newcastle, away Chelsea, home NFO, away Brighton, and then home versus Arsenal. So pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's ugly, but I will say I think Mbomo hard done to not get an assist in game week 13. I think if that was Saka, he would have gotten the points for sure. So I just want to call that out before we jump into the top 3 replacements that we target. But I also want to say and mention that based on the charts, the heat maps that you could see very easily in the hashtag FPL community, he's by far the most advanced player. So yes, he's playing wide, but he's playing wide the same way Mo Salah plays wide, right? He starts on the touchline, he gets the ball, he's attacking the box like a mad dog with meat in front of his face. So I don't think he's a priority sell. He still has penalties, and unless you need another playing body for game week 14, I think it's comfortable to just roll. Now I'll pass the mic to you guys. Give your ideal replacements. I have a couple in mind to share.
Yeah, so for me and Boomo, he's not a priority sell because at least he's guaranteed to play every single game. He's on set pieces. He's on penalties. I know he's not performing right now, but all it takes is the odd assist, the odd goal, the odd penalty, and it'll be fine. I think if your team has no fires, and you're fucking lucky if you don't, because I have a ton, then sure, take him out. But otherwise, just keep him. For me, my favorite replacement, and I know you're going to absolutely hate this, Bucks, because even though they've been a pile of shit, I'm a fixtures manager. I would bring in Jared Bowen as my number 1.
Ugh, gross. You can't even spell his name right, let alone get double returns with this West Ham team. I don't like it whatsoever. I think I'm seeing a lot of that actually on the timeline, and it doesn't. I know the fixtures are beautiful for West Ham, but West Ham might just be not very good. So, that's like betting on Southampton with a good fixture run. If they're not any better than the opposition, then it's not really such a cupcake match. I don't know. I would stay away from Bowen. My favorite pick, Brennan Johnson. I think that's a pretty comfortable sideways move. And if you don't have an Arsenal triple up, I would think about using 2 moves and just reach for Odegaard. Find a way to scrap together a little extra cash. If you can have Saka alongside Odegaard, I think that's a really nice attacking differential. And the Arsenal run, they're not traveling out of London. They have good fixtures, and now they're in massive form. So I think that's a good move.
So don't get Trossard though, right, Bucks? You wouldn't advise
Yeah,
anybody
I-
Trossard, right?
Learn from my mistakes on the Leandro Trossard front. Now, one more name I do want to shout out. I wouldn't do it yet. If you're comfortable saving and just holding on to Mbomo for a couple weeks, I think we'll learn a lot about this Manchester United front 3 and who the preferred trio looks like. And I think Rashford or Ahmad, they're comfortably on my watch list as I just learn a little bit more about how Amarin is going to set this team up.
I was going to comment with Rashford as a potential player that And similar to Bowen, they have the pedigree. They've done it before in FPL. You can go that way with a punt, 6.5 million. You're not going to break the bank there. So somebody to keep an eye on. And then I also want to shout out in terms of being a fixture whore with you, Dan, Mitoma at Brighton. He's not going to get a ton of chances, but a very clinical player. He's now scored in back-to-back matches, I believe. Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Brentford in the next 5. So definitely a player that could crop up with some assists or possibly some goals as well.
And then the final player I want to shout out, and I know you already own him, which is probably why you didn't say his name, but I don't, is Semenyo, because they have a great run of fixtures, Bournemouth. He's 2 million cheaper than Boomo, so you could use that money to upgrade to an Arsenal midfielder. If you're someone like me who doesn't own Saka, for example, going from a Boomo down to someone like Semenyo or Amad Diallo will give you those funds to move to Saka. So it really depends on who you have in your team already, I think.
Great shout. Let's go to a question from FPL Conte. He's asking which player we pick as the biggest differential in the month of December. Now, we should just remind the listeners that December is the wildest month of the FPL calendar. We are fully into the festive fixtures now. I think we're going to have 7 game weeks in the month of December, which is beyond crazy. So, anyone have a rogue shout here? Who are we thinking?
Well, I've already mentioned, I think Jared Bowen could be a good differential. I think, again, playing the fixtures, West Ham have Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton, and he's, focal to their attack. I also think the Brighton midfield, I know we've just called out Mitoma, but if you don't have João Pedro, if you don't have Mitoma, I think they're really good options because they're playing Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Brentford. And then, Bucks, I'm going to go to you here because if you already own Cole Palmer, is the midfield double up of Chelsea an option? Or is there just a no-go there?
I think that's a no-go because
too many bodies. Get out of my Thanksgiving Day kitchen. You got too many cooks in here, too many different types of cuisine trying to be served at this potluck. You can't go with another midfielder from Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's Jackson, Cole, and then maybe a defender is kind of the way you would attack it. I even think Cucurella should be a serious consideration. He's looked amazing. He's putting himself into the argument to be one of the best 10 left backs in the world in the last year and change.
Yeah,
so
he's really turned it around. Hey, he got that W with Spain at the Euros, and his confidence has been very high since then. Thank goodness, because he had a stretch where I'm like, what the fuck do we buy this guy from Brighton for? Just getting fleeced.
A tough move to London. I think his family was like robbed like 2 weeks after they moved, and then they got all COVID. It wasn't such a straight line for the lad, but I'm glad it's coming good for him and for Chelsea. Now, I have 2 really deep cuts on the differential of choice for December. My first is going to be Liam Delap. I think the Ipswich forward,
the tractor boy himself.
Yeah, he's offering great value. Their next 4 fixtures are really nice. They're all green on the FDR, and they're actual green as opposed to, when you see Spurs and there are 4 for attackers and in bright red. Now, the other one is Evan Nielsen. Now, I know I slandered his hat trick of assists as he just fell over as Wolves players dives at his knees over and over again in this match. But
he presses really well, though. I mean, that's something that we give Jackson a lot of credit for as well. Constantly running, pressing. That leads to just extra pressure that obviously mounted on Jose Sa's fucking back, and he couldn't do anything about it. But I do like that shot. That one's interesting, especially if you're looking to free up more funds. I have Semenyo in my team personally, so I don't want that Bournemouth double up in their attack. But it's really a shame that he's missed, I believe, 2 penalties, or he missed his kind of first one that he took when he came to the club. If he had pens on top of that, then I would be much more interested. But Kluivert clearly has those with the Hattie of pens. So that's interesting. And then I guess rambling, one more guy, Kudus, West Ham.
Another player. West Ham again.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Kudus is a quality player for sure.
Did we sign an FPL fella? Is he now sponsoring this podcast or something? What's going on? Did you guys get brainworm? West Ham suck.
You got to play the fixtures, though. You really do. They're going to turn it around. They're going to score in these games, surely. And if they score, it's going to be one of those guys, probably.
We're talking about deep cut differentials. So I just want to throw his name out there because he will be coming back into the fold as well. All right, we're going long.
I just
We're
want to
going
quickly
long here.
touch on. I just want to quickly touch on Bucks's. I think Delap and Evan Nilsson. I like those shouts, but I think the first thing you're going to want to do is, where do you want your 8th attacker to be? Do you want it to be a midfielder or do you want it to be a striker? Because I think if you do go with Delap and Evan Nilsson, you're going to really want to upgrade your midfield to have a really strong midfield. I just wanted to make that point.
Well, I think from what I'm seeing, and the reason I like that strategy is the midfielders are the ones really hauling. So when you're seeing big point explosions, there's budget midfielders who are matching some of the top priced attackers when it comes to the forwards. I mean, I definitely did not see a Bournemouth midfielder being the top scorer or a Brentford midfielder being the top scorer in this game week. That was nowhere near my bingo card. So I just think that if you could pour more funds into the midfield, you're going to be really nicely set up, especially if you're getting nailed 90-minute men in those positions. So if you could get Bruno, the double Arsenal midfield of Odegaard, Saka, Salah, and Palmer, you're going to have 5 guys who you'd expect close to double-digit returns almost every game week when we get deep into the festive fixture run. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, good to hear from Bucks on his top forwards that he's thinking of. We had Gunnar Todd, who is top of the hashtag FPL USA Elite League right now. Well done to him. Got to be crushing it so far. So he's just wondering about preferred forward options. He thinks there's slim pickings, but like we said, I think there's a lot of options. Right now he has Isak, Solanke, and Cunha. So bit tricky.
Let's do a quick fire. Let's pick our top 3 quick fire. Go for it, Brian. Let's do that. Who are your top 3 forwards if you had to quick fire answer right now? Who are you going for?
Erling Haaland, Nico Jackson, Cunha.
Erling Haaland?
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking top 3. Obviously, you're not going to bring him in right now, but the time will come.
Hey, he's saying for FPL, Brian. Come on, get on board. Know what we're talking about, God damn it.
Look, it's been a long day, Bucks. A long, long day. So for me personally, I think Isak has both of the promoted teams coming up, and that's why I really like to just hold him and bench him this week because he plays away Brentford, goals in that one, home Leicester, and away Ipswich. So I think you should just hold on to him. And Solanke is tough. I think that's a tougher call. Like, we haven't seen him come in with many double-digit hauls outside of one. Do we think he has the ceiling to be shooting more often on a Spurs team that really seems like the shots go all around the squad? So what do you guys think for Solanke?
I think it's a hard week to make a forward transfer, to be perfectly honest, because we expect Solanke's going to come back. We expect Isak's injury is going to be short term. For me, the optimal front 3 right now is probably Jackson, Cunha, and João Pedro.
I agree.
But I think you think that too?
That was the 3 I was going to say. I completely agree.
But I actually think that Evan Nilsson, it's opening my eyes up that he might be a contender for that 3rd spot. The problem is with Brighton, Brian and I dealt with this all of last season under RDZ, the fraud, but Hertzler seems like he also is not so certain how they're going to line up and attack each and every game week. I mean, when he pulled João Pedro off when Saints leveled it up and it was 1-1, he's pulling off the guy who says he's their main attacking threat. He's their talisman. In the 70th minute. That was so bizarre.
He's coming off of a big injury. I mean, he played sub 60 when he got the 12-pointer as well, just north of 60, right? So I think he's definitely protecting the player. That's something that we've talked about before on this pod. You have to look at the long season ahead. So even though he came off, he's starting the matches. So I'm not too worried about that personally, but there's just so many options. So I think you go with some of the top guys that have the fixtures and then you roll with it. So it's a good spot to be in. I just feel like there's so many forwards this year that will have their moment in the sun and then you'll rotate and fuck them off, right? I feel like in the last couple seasons, it's been a little bit slim pickings. So All right, let's get out of here. We've gone long as we always do, but we want to get this to the airwaves ASAP. And I know Bucks is going to stay up till midnight editing this as well, getting this up on the interwebs, so he can't wait. So let's move to transfer plans and captaincy shouts.
All right, I'll take the baton first. I'm easy. I went Bucks Wild in game week 13. That means game week 14 is going to be nice and boring for me. I'm going to roll the free transfer. I'm going to bring Solanke in, bench and Boomo, and I'm going to keep the captain's armband on Palmer. I'm already all set up. My bus team is locked. I'm ready for game week 14. I will not be caught out by the middle of the workday Tuesday deadline that many managers have to be aware of. Let's go to you next, Black Wolf. What's the plan?
I'm going to do my best to roll my transfer, even though I have a bit of a crappy team this week, because I really want 2 free transfers next week. So I'm probably just going to play Bruno Fernandes against Arsenal, play in Boomo away to Aston Villa. I know it's not ideal, but whatever.
It's fine.
And my captain's going to be Cole Palmer, no doubt.
Cole Palmer EO should be 150% this week, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so.
It's going to be very high. I'm right there with both of you, captaining Cole Palmer, the Chelsea legend that continues to grow each and every game week. And I think for me personally, like I said, I have Isak. I'm going to bench him, bring Semenyo in. I need to roll to have 2 free transfers. And just the psychology of having only 2 days to make these decisions is actually better to, like, if you're in a position that you can roll, then by the weekend when it comes around, you're like, bam, I can make some 2 moves, 3 moves for a hit. It's easy. And I'm also just in a position where, are we going to see some early rotation and just some weird results because of the pileup coming up? So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a few names that miss out with some sniffles, miss out because they need a rest. I just think it could be a weird midweek time. So I'm going to roll my transfer.
All right, I think that does it. That was a great banter-filled podcast. We got some therapy out for Dan. We celebrated 2 green arrows for Dan and I. Brian is touching the top 100K. We're thankful for a lot of things, but most of all for our awesome listeners this side of the Atlantic. Shout out to hashtag FPLUSA. You can find us on all social media platforms. We're at FPLUSA Press Play on X. We're the same at Blue Sky with some extra BSKY and bullshit on that end. But it's all fun and games as part of this podcast. I'm at FPL USA Bucks, the lowest ranked manager on the podcast, but arguably the best looking. Let's dish it to you guys. Send love and best wishes to the rest of our listeners.
Until you get a sexy beard like Dan and I have, you're in a rough spot for the sex. You know, you got a big personality and a lot of love, Bucks, but I don't know if we're gonna call you the sexiest out of the 3 of us. But I also want to just second what you said before. Big thanks to all of those who tune in to us and engage with us on social and support the podcast. And then also just want to call out, I support and love any FPL manager that tunes into this pod that is surrounded by any body of water. That's right, global. We're going to international. I love you all, and I'm just thankful enough to be here with the 3 of us behind the mics for the first time in many, many moons. We got a lot of fixtures coming up. Can't wait to attack them.
Dan, say goodbye, you plank.
I just dozed off from your little banter section. No, I heard everything. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving who was in the US, people who don't celebrate globally. It's coming up to holiday season, so I hope you have a great time with your friends and families.
Yeah, listen to this podcast while you're doing your Christmas shopping. You know, you could be in the shops or in the mall or just shopping from your couch. So tune in to us. We'll catch you soon.